Hi guys, welcome back to Cortex videos. It has been a while since I last did a video on this channel, let alone a movie video, and I thought the perfect way to come back to this channel if I was going to be considering doing movie content full time is to do a top 10 most anticipated list for next year's movies. And the reason I thought that was the perfect way to come back is so that you guys get an understanding of what kind of films that I'm looking forward to, what I think people in general are looking forward to within the movie industry. And also, I think, it was one of the videos that did kickstart my channel when I was doing movie content as kind of a subcategory on this channel back in the day. Obviously, I had a lot of gaming stuff and movies were kind of on the side. It's what I, was getting into more, and that's simply because I had a huge passion for doing movie content. And that was really a test. It was really a test to see if I could keep up doing movie content, if I could do it consistently, and if I just enjoyed doing it. And I think now that, I've looked back on that kind of period of doing them types of videos and moving back to kind of gaming stuff earlier in the year, I think it is a right step forward to continuing to do movie content within news reviews, trailer reviews, and just topical video essays on films. So I think it's a perfect way to kind of look forward and to focus my content on this channel. So if you are into all of that, if you're into the things that are going on within the movie world, subscribe to the channel. Or if you are a returning subscriber and you do love movies, I would definitely recommend staying with this channel because we're going to be doing loads over the coming days, weeks and months. But anyway, I'm going to get into my top 10 most anticipated films of 2020. Let me know down below what your films are, because obviously we all have different lists and we all have different films within our most anticipated coming out next year, and they're never going to be the same. But let me know, guys, what you think and what your list is for 2020. But anyway, let's get on with the video. At number 10, Venom 2. Now, I didn't love the first Venom as much as a lot of people did. Obviously, I can understand that loads of people really enjoyed this film and it made a truck ton of money at the box office, but I didn't love it as much as a lot of people. But the one thing that has me heavily intrigued to, what they're going to do with Venom 2 is two things. To start off with, Woody Harrelson is in this film and he is going to play Carnage, obviously the main nemesis to Venom. He's also a huge nemesis to Spider-Man in the comics. Cannot wait to see Woody Harrelson's portrayal of Carnage. Obviously, if you did watch the first Venom, he was one of the post-credit teasers for the next Venom film, and now we're going to get him in this sequel to the original Venom. On top of that, you have Andy Serkis directing. Now, a lot of people didn't love Mowgli. I personally thought it was a great film. I thought Mowgli was obviously not the best Jungle Book film, but in my eyes, it was a film that really did showcase how Andy Serkis can take source material and he can turn it into his own kind of approach on a film, but at the same time make it feel like it's a part of Jungle Book. And I think that Mowgli was a great example of that, so I'm really excited to see what Andy Serkis does with Venom 2 and how he approaches the characters that were set up in the original film. At number 9, I'm putting West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. Now, I haven't watched the original West Side Story, which came out in the 50s. Obviously, it was like a musical romance type film, very much like the La La Land of the 50s, and I never got around to watching it, but I do want to see it before I see Spielberg's take on West Side Story. But the main thing that is obviously hugely intriguing about this film is that you've got a great cast to start off with. Obviously, Angel Elfort is in this film, and then on top of that, Steven Spielberg himself is directing it, and I think Spielberg, whatever he touches, he turns into gold. Now, I haven't loved his last few films as much as, his films like Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, E.T., you can go on and on with Steven Spielberg. He's one of the best directors of all time, but if you're going to consider Steven Spielberg when he attaches his name to any project, you have to put that in your list. I mean, the guy still produces some really great films. I loved Ready Player One. I thought it was a breath of fresh air in terms of, heavy visual effects type films, and the way he took that approach on a gaming subject is kind of, I thought was really interesting. I especially loved that Shining sequence in that film. So, West Side Story has to be on the list for me, and that is definitely one that I'm looking forward to next year. At number 8 on my list is Black Widow. Now, they obviously released the trailer a few weeks ago, and I have heavy excitement to this film. Now, it's not just because obviously it's another Marvel film and they've been knocking it out the park in terms of, delivering some great superhero action blockbusters, fill your face with popcorn type movies, and I've enjoyed most of them that they've put out. But the thing that has me more intrigued about, Black Widow and this new phase of Marvel movies is that they're taking some approaches on not just different characters like your Shang-Chi's and your Eternals, but they're also, looking at taking characters and, by the looks of it, putting it in their own individual stories. And I think that's worked well for DC films and some other studios at the minute. They're actually taking individual approaches on characters, even if they're dead in the cinematic universe story. For instance, Black Widow, of course, spoiler alert, she dies in Endgame, and obviously everyone should know that by now if they've seen Endgame. Who hasn't? But Black Widow obviously died in that film, and now they're going to take an individual story on her which is set after Civil War and before Endgame. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of approach they take on this film. I thought the trailer was very decent. Didn't love the way they kind of represented David Harbour's character in it. He just felt like a jokey, bit of a clown-like character in that trailer. But apart from that, I really enjoyed the trailer, and I like the direction they're heading in with this new phase of Marvel movies. So that's the one that I'm looking forward to next year in regards to the Marvel films. The next film I'm highly anticipating, which is definitely up there with other female-driven superhero films next year, is Birds of Prey. And I think obviously Birds of Prey is going to be the first one to come out of a long list of female-driven superhero movies next year. And the thing that has really kind of caught my eye with this film is the kind of edgy approach they're going. If you look at the posters, if you look at the first kind of teaser they put out, or trailer even, it really looks like they're trying to find the balance of the simplistic nature that we got with, say, Suicide Squad, but then also add some kind of R-rated, edgy, kind of action that is obviously following in the footsteps of Joker, which was a heavy R-rated film. They're trying to follow that up with this film, and I think that is a good approach to take. If something works, whether it's your R-rated approach DC movies or your traditional superhero DC movies, then take stuff from them and try and fix it into this world and this story that they're creating. And I think Birds of Prey definitely has potential. I still need to be a bit more sold on it. Obviously we're going to hopefully get another trailer soon with this film, but overall I am looking forward to it. I think there's definitely huge talent there, huge potential, and I think the posters have really sold me on this movie, and I think, the marketing in general has been great so far. Now, a film that I think has to be on this list is Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, that is going to be a huge movie with two huge pop cultural titans fighting against each other in one film, and obviously earlier on this year we got Godzilla King of the Monsters, which has set up that film perfectly. A lot of people complained in the first few the first Godzilla movie, and even the Kong Skull Island movie a bit, that the human characters just weren't there and that there wasn't enough monster action. For instance, in the first Godzilla, obviously in King of the Monsters we got all of that. We got loads of action with the monsters, loads of different monsters introduced into that movie, creating up this universe. And then also, I actually didn't mind the human characters. I didn't think they were amazing, but I thought they were okay. They served the movie's purpose and conveyed the message they wanted to convey, and I think it really has set up this Godzilla vs. Kong movie perfectly, and I cannot wait for when that first trailer drops, because the trailers for Godzilla King of the Monsters, the last film, were fantastic. It reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road, when we had them brilliant trailers with majestic music, with visceral action. Cannot wait for this new movie. I think it's going to be a spectacle. Reminds me of kind of the setup for Batman v Superman a few years ago, so I'm looking forward to when the marketing really kicks in for Godzilla vs. Kong. Getting into the top 5, I think there has to be a spot reserved for Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. This director has been on a roll lately. He's been, obviously from the Cornetto trilogy to a potential Ant-Man film, which never happened. I thought that could have been amazing if they let him do that. But then afterwards, obviously, he's following up with Baby Driver, and now he's coming into Last Night in Soho, which, you know, has a stellar cast. I love the actress from Split. I think she's, you know, Anna Taylor-Joy. I think she's a great actress, and I think, having seen her in Peaky Blinders earlier on in the year, I think she's going to do a great job as one of the main characters in Edgar Wright's new film, and I can't wait to see what soundtrack Edgar Wright uses in this film. I think it's going to be great, and especially seeing his kind of approach on a horror-like film, I think it's going to be a really great film to look forward to coming into 2020. Leading the pack of female-driven superhero movies coming out next year has to be Wonder Woman 1984. Obviously, we got our first look at the trailer the other day. I found it to be a blast. I really enjoyed some of the action and visual sequences in the trailer. I thought the whole Wonder Woman swinging from lightning thing was great. They kind of sold me on Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. Obviously, we haven't seen her as Cheetah, but we saw her character before she becomes Cheetah in the trailer, and I found that, you know, Kristen Wiig I was kind of worried about being the main villain in this film, but now I'm kind of like, after what Patty Jenkins has said about her transformation, everything she goes through in the film, and obviously when she becomes Cheetah, and all the other characters, including Pedro Pascal in the film, and bringing back Steve Trevor, I think there is a lot of potential here, and, you know, building on the first film, we cannot, you know, suspect that they're going to completely drop the bomb on this. So I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 1984, and I think it's definitely up a lot of people's lists for the top anticipated films next year. Rounding up the top three, I'm putting No Time to Die. Obviously, it's Daniel Craig's last film as 007, obviously, until they announce another one, because they've been doing that the last few times. Being a huge Casino Royale fan, it's one of my favourite movies of all time. I cannot wait for this. I think Rami Malek looks great in the first trailer as Bond's villain. They've got all the original characters back. There is a few things that I didn't like. Obviously, I think the female spy they've brought into that looks a bit it does feel like they're forcing her into the film a bit too much, but obviously I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to put judgment on that until I actually see the film, because obviously she might be a great character, we don't know. But I'm looking forward to what they do with this. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see where this story wraps up, because obviously it started at Casino Royale and now it's going to finish with No Time to Die. So I guess we'll have to see how Sony and, the MGM actually finish this storyline. At number 2, I have to put Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Now, obviously, if you don't know what Dune is, it is one of the biggest science fiction novels of all time, and Denis Villeneuve is one of the best working directors today. He doesn't get enough support by audiences at the box office. If you look back to Blade Runner 2049, an amazing film, my second favourite film of 2017, and I really hope audiences actually come to watch Dune. It wasn't, obviously Blade Runner didn't do great in cinemas when it came out. It's doing better now. It's come out on digital and Blu-ray and 4K, but it didn't do great when it originally came out. And I think that there's directors like this out there at the minute, like Denis Villeneuve, who aren't getting the kind of attention as your Steven Spielbergs or your Christopher Nolans. They're just not getting the kind of support from audiences. And I think that's due to marketing. I don't think Blade Runner was marketed in the best way. So I'm really hoping, with the stellar cast that is in this movie and the source material and the fact that we've got one of the best living modern directors working on it, they have to put some good marketing behind this film. But yeah, I cannot wait for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Definitely go see it. If you haven't seen a Denis Villeneuve film, I definitely recommend checking out Prisoners, Arrival, Sicario, Blade Runner. Go check him out. He's a fantastic director, and I cannot wait to see what he cooks up in 2020 with Dune. At number 1 on my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2020, I'm putting Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Now, the guy has been on a roll. This is obviously his 10th studio film, and coming off the back of Dunkirk with 8 Oscar nominations, coming off the back of that with Interstellar, coming off the back of that with The Dark Knight Rises, The Prestige, Inception, the other 2 Dark Knight films, Memento, Insomnia. In a lot of people's opinion, this guy hasn't made a bad film, and I totally agree with that. I have to agree. He's my favourite living director working today. He hasn't made a bad film over the last 15-20 years, so I just can't wait to see what he does with this. He's got, like Dune, he's got a stellar cast. He's got Robert Pattinson, he's got John David Washington, Michael Caine's returning. You can't have a Christopher Nolan film without Michael Caine. He is part of that experience. But yeah, the cast, from everything from the cast and hearing that this is a spy movie in the formula of Inception, cannot wait to see what he does with this film, and I think it's definitely going to be on a lot of people's top 10 list next year if he delivers like his previous films. So brilliant films on that list. I cannot wait to see especially the top 5. I think they really are looking like they're going to be, you know, huge films next year at the box office, but also in terms of how good they are as actual films. So it's going to be a great year for movies. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think it reminds me of 2017, where we get a mixture of kind of independent mixed with blockbuster-esque films, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, we got Logan, Dunkirk, Blade Runner 2049 in 2017. So I'm looking forward to that kind of approach from the movie industry this year, where we've got a mix of big blockbuster event films with artistic blockbusters, but then also some great independent films. And I think we're going to get that this year. I think there's a great list of movies coming out. And, you know, obviously I couldn't put every film on this list. There's obviously loads coming out next year. I couldn't put every single film on this list. There was only 10 that I had to choose from. But if you guys have obviously opinions on other films that could have been in there, I'm sure there's plenty of movies that you guys, you know, thought I should have put in this list. So let me know down below. Obviously we won't fully agree on everything, but let me know down below what you think should be the top 10 next year, and if you agree and disagree with the list I've put together. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed my first video back on this channel. Can't wait to bring you some more content over the coming days and weeks. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed it and you want to see more movie content in the coming days. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.